This call is now being recorded.
Okay, we can start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So today we are starting new chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 15, King Prithu's appearance and coronation. So 14th chapter ended when the sages had churned the thighs of King Vena, and a creature came out, and he was short in height, and his jaws were large. He was black color, Bahuka. There is name Bahuka, and that race would live in the forest, and they would always engage in sinful activities like stealing, plundering, and hunting. So that was because resultant action of King Vena's sinful activities. So now chapter 15, text 1. Maitreya Vacha Atattasya Punarvipraraputrasya Mahipate Bahubhyam Matyamanabhyam Mithunam Samapadyata. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, thus the Brahmins and the great sages again churned the two arms of King Vena's dead body. As a result, a male and female couple came out of his arms. Tadadrishtva mithunam jatam rishyo brahmavadina uchu param santushta viditva bhagavad kalam. The great sages were highly learned in Vedic knowledge. When they saw the male and female born of the arms of Vena's body, they were greatly pleased, for they could understand the couple was an expansion of a plenary portion of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The method adopted by the great sages and scholars who were learned in Vedic knowledge was perfect. They removed all the reactions of King Vena's sinful activities by seeing that King Vena first gave birth to Bahuka, described in the previous chapter. After King Vena's body was thus purified, a male and female came out of it, and the great sages could understand that this was an expansion of Lord Vishnu. This expansion, of course, was not Vishnu Tattva, but a specifically empowered expansion of Lord Vishnu known as Avesh. So Lord Maharaj Prithu was a Shaktya Avesh. So Shaktya Avesh means a living entity, not Vishnu Tattva, Jeev Tattva, but given special power by Lord Vishnu for a specific purpose. So Maharaj Prithu was given the power to rule. So he is going to exhibit that power very properly. That power is the power of the Supreme Lord, but he wanted to manifest how to rule, how to be a proper king. Just like Narad Muni is also considered Shaktavesh. He has the Shakti to give bhakti, devotion to everybody. Four Kumaras, they are supposed to give Gyan. And there are many others. In fact, scholars also consider Srila Prabhupada as a Shaktavesh avatar. Shaktavesh in the sense that he was given a specific purpose and given potency to achieve that purpose, to complete that goal, to complete that mission of spreading Krishna consciousness in this Kali Yuga, in the Western countries, and all over the world through that. So Prabhupada is also considered a Shaktavesh avatar. He is not Vishnu Tattva, so please do not quote me in that way. He is Jeev Tattva, but with special potency of Krishna. Similarly, Prabhupada himself said even Jesus Christ was Shakti. He was given special potency by the Lord to do certain activities. Text 3. Rishya uchu esha Vishnur Bhagavata Kala Bhavan Palini Iyam cha Lakshmya Sambhuti Purushasyan Pahini. The great sages said, the male is a plenary expansion of the power of Lord Vishnu, who maintains the entire universe. And the female is a plenary expansion of the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from the Lord. The significance of the goddess of fortunes never being separated from the Lord is clearly mentioned herein. People in the material world are very fond of the goddess of fortune, and they want her favor in the form of riches. They should know, however, that the goddess of fortune is inseparable from Lord Vishnu. Materialists should understand that the goddess of fortune should be worshipped along with Lord Vishnu and should not be regarded separately. Materialists seeking the favor of the goddess of fortune must worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi together to maintain material opulence. If a materialist follows the policy of Ravan, who wanted to separate Sita from Lord Ramchandra, the process of separation will vanquish him. Those who are very rich and have taken favor of the goddess of fortune in this world must engage their money in the service of the Lord. In this way, they can continue in their opulent position without disturbance. So the goddess of fortune is never separated from Vishnu, from her husband, from her eternal husband. But people in the material world, they're very fond of, or they're very desirous of the mercy or the benedictions of goddess of fortune. But they don't want to worship Vishnu. And that's where they make the mistake. Prabhupada says, Ravan also tried to do the same thing. He took Sita away from Ram. He wanted to enjoy Sita. He didn't want to serve Ram. And in the process, what happened? First of all, he could not take the real Sita. Only he took was Maya Sita. And that too, he could not enjoy her either. And in the process, his whole dynasty got finished by Ram. So that's a problem. So we should know how to get the mercy, how to get the blessings of goddess of fortune. By serving the Lord. She's never separate from the Lord. And when we serve the Lord, and those who want opulence, material opulence, they can serve Lord Vishnu, they can serve Ram, Krishna. And Prabhupada says, they should, and those who have taken favor of the goddess of fortune, means either by their previous pious activities or in this lifetime, whatever they have done, they must engage their money in the service of the Lord, or at least some money, some part. Because they should use whatever fortune they got in the service of Krishna. And then they'll be more blessed. But those who serve Radha Krishna, now Radharani is the original goddess of fortune. From her, all these expansions of Lakshmis and Gopis, they all come. So originally it's Srimati Radharani. And if she gives the benedictions, the real benediction of bhakti, then all her expansions, they will also bless the devotee. Might not happen that the devotee gets all the money whenever he wants. That's a different story. But the opulence of bhakti is much, much, much more than the opulence of this aishwarya, of money, or the physical assets. Bhakti is much, much more powerful and more valuable, actually. And the relationship or the mood of service in Golok Vrindavan. That's why Golok Vrindavan is considered the topmost planet in terms of the relationship, in terms of the love and devotion. So the relationship there or the devotion there is so great, so great. It is considered that every particle of dust of Vrindavan is Chintamani. Every particle of dust. Every tree is a desired tree. Every cow is a Survi cow. Survi cow means she can give anything or everything that we desire. Every house is made of Chintamani jewels. But the Brajvasis, they don't ask for any opulence from Krishna or from all this, even the Brajraj or the trees or the cow. They don't ask for any opulence. All they ask for, whatever is required for the service of Krishna and howsoever Krishna is pleased. They don't want, even Krishna doesn't want the opulence to come in between him and his devotees of Raj. Although the opulence of Brajvasis is much, much, much more than even Vaikuntha-vasis. Even among all the Vaikuntha planets, if you take Ayodhya is the best of all. Better than Ayodhya is Dwarka. Better than Dwarka is Mathura, and much better than Mathura is Golok Vrindavan. In terms of the relationship, in terms of the love. So the opulence of Vrindavan is so great that even the opulence of Mathura is not compared to that. So what to speak of Vaikuntha planets and what to speak of the heavenly planets? That is Vrindavan. And that love, the mood of love of Vrindavan, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us in this Kali Yuga. And he comes only once in a day of Brahma, just like Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma. We know how long Brahmaji's day is, 1,000 Chaturyugas, and so long is his night. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes only once himself. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes only once. And he came only 500 years ago. Out of billions and billions of years, only 500 years ago he came. To give us what? To give us that love of Golok Vrindavan. That mood. He displayed that mood. He showed us what that mood is. His associates showed us that mood. And Mahaprabhu came to give that mood, which is the most opulent. Nothing can be compared to that mood. Nothing. And how to attain that? By chanting of the holy names. This is what he said. Golokera Premadan Harinam Sankirtan. By chanting of the holy names. And Prabhupada took that mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he came, Mahaprabhu distributed that love of Krishna through Sankirtan only in Odisha and Bengal. Of course, he went to South India and gave, but then he came back to Odisha, Jagannath Puri, and his followers would come every year from Bengal to see him, and Mahaprabhu would. And that's where the whole preaching went on. There was no more preaching in South India. But Srila Prabhupada, he took that mood and he made it even more sweet, more attainable. Because Mahaprabhu said if one does not chant 64 rounds every day, he should be considered fallen. Prabhupada made it more easy for us. Okay, chant only 16 rounds. I know you cannot chant 64. And Sankirtan, he also added, not just Harinam Sankirtan, he added, okay, go do book distribution, because I know you cannot do Harinam whole day, every day. Do book distribution. Do Prashadam distribution. He also called that Sankirtan. Because we have the tendency to feed poor people. Okay, he said, you want to feed? Feed Prashadam. So he just made it more easy for us to get qualified. For what? For Golokera Premadhan, which is not attainable by even by the big tapasvis of Satyuga, big yagyas, through the big yagyas of Treta Yuga, elaborate deity worship in Dwapara Yuga, not attainable. Only in this Kali Yuga, by chanting of the holy names and by doing other practices. So easy, so easy. And still we don't do it properly. Still we have all the excuses. So now 2 days later, actually here it's on 25th and in India it's on 26th, Srimati Radharani's appearance day, Radha Ashtami. So again, since we can't go to the temple, we should take up this Japathan and cry for the mercy of Srimati Radharani. Please give us your mercy. Please engage us in your service. Please engage us in service of Krishna. We have served Maya long enough. We don't want to serve Maya anymore. Please engage us. She is very compassionate, and she knows our fallen situation, fallen condition. And she'll be more than happy to engage us. I know in India, when I was there in Delhi, and every year we used to sponsor the dress for Radhashtami, for Radha Karsarthi, and so many years we did that. Wonderful service we got. But anyway, she'll engage again in other services. All we have to do is beg her, please engage us. And this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is nothing but begging, pleading to them. Please engage us in your service. So Goddess of Fortune is never separate from Lord Vishnu. So Srimati Radharani is also in Leela. She might be in some. They always have pastimes of Radha and Krishna, but otherwise in her heart she's always with Krishna. So we should pray to both of them. Please engage us. And on her birthday, it's also said, on her appearance day, Krishna is more merciful and Krishna is more happy. And on the appearance day of Krishna, Janmashtami, Radharani is more merciful and she is more happy. So anyway, this is the day to ask. These are the days to ask for more and more mercy. And they will be more than happy to bestow their mercy. So again, we should chant more rounds that day. Ayam tu prathamo ragyam puman prathayita yasha prithur nama maharajo bhavishyati prithushhrava. Of the two, the male will be able to expand his reputation throughout the world. His name will be Prithu. Indeed, he will be the first among kings. There are different types of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Shastras, it is said that Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva and Ananta are all very powerful incarnations of the Brahman feature of the Lord. Similarly, Shachipati or Indra, the king of heaven, is an incarnation of the lusty feature of the Lord. Aniruddha is an incarnation of the Lord's mind. Similarly, King Prithu is an incarnation of the ruling force of the Lord. Thus, the saintly persons and great sages predicted the future activities of King Prithu, who was already explained as a partial incarnation of a plenary expansion of the Lord. So, Maharaj Prithu is an incarnation of the ruling force of the Lord. So, Shakti Avesh Avatar with the Shakti of ruling, Shasan. And Indra, Lord Indra, is an incarnation of the lusty feature of the Lord. So that's why he always gets into trouble with that feature. But he is Shakti, he has that Shakti. So this is what his role is in the universe. For us to understand, even the Lord of the demigods, he is the Lord of all the demigods. Even if you are that, one cannot be free from the lusty desires. Only by devotional service, pure devotional service, one can get rid of this lusty desires in the heart. Otherwise, heavenly planets, even one goes to heavenly planets, one cannot get away from this. Lusty means to enjoy material opulence, material things. It's not just the opposite sex, it's anything we want to enjoy. So heavenly planets are full of so much of opulence. One cannot get away from enjoying tendency. So heaven is out of question for devotees. So Krishna himself, he is always there to protect Indra. He comes as Vaman Dev, who's younger brother of Indra. That pastime will come. So he took the position as younger brother. He is also known as Upendra in that incarnation. So he is always appreciative of Indra, but this is what Indra's role is, and he does that role very perfectly. Iyam cha sudati devi gun bhushana bhushana archer nama vararoha prithum eva varundati. The female has such beautiful teeth and beautiful qualities. She will actually beautify the ornaments she wears. Her name will be Archi. In the future, she will accept King Prithu as her husband. So sometimes those who don't understand the proper position of Maharaj Prithu or Archi, they'll say, oh, they were born from the same person, so they are brothers and sisters. How can they get married? See, Lord or his Shakti Avesh can appear in any way and they can perform their pastimes. It's not for us to imitate their example. We have to follow the instructions, not to imitate them. Esha sakshat dhare anshu jato lokaririkshya iyam chatat parahi shrir anujagya anapayini. In the form of King Prithu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared through a part of his potency to protect the people of the world. The goddess of fortune is a constant companion of the Lord, and therefore she has incarnated partially as Archi to become King Prithu's queen. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that whenever one sees an extraordinary power, he should conclude that a specific partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present. There are innumerable such personalities, but not all of them are direct Vishnu Tattva plenary expansions of the Lord. Many living entities are classified among the Shakti Tattvas. Such incarnations, empowered for specific purposes, are known as Shakti Avesh Avatar. King Prithu was such a Shakti Avesh Avatar of the Lord. Similarly, Archi, King Prithu's wife, was a Shaktavesh avatar of the goddess of fortune. So as we discussed earlier, so King Prithu was a Shaktavesh avatar to show the Shakti of Shasan, rule. Text 7. Maitreya Vacha Prashansanti स्म तम विप्रा गंधर्व प्रवरा जगुः मुमुचु सुमनोधारा सिद्धा नृत्यन्ति स्वस्त्रियः. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidurji, at that time all the Brahmins highly praised and glorified King Prithu, and the best singers of Gandharva Loka chanted his glories. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka showered flowers, and the beautiful women in the heavenly planets danced in ecstasy. Shankaturiam Ritangadya Nedurdundubhayo Divi Tatra Saro Upa Jagmur Devarshi Putrinam Ganaha. Conch shells, bugles, drums, kettle drums vibrated in outer space. Great sages, forefathers, and personalities from the heavenly planets all came to earth from various planetary systems. See, just one devotee of the Lord has taken birth and he is going to be ruling over with full force of the Lord Vishnu. And look at the welcome that he is getting. Brahma Jagat Gurur Deva Sahasritya Sureshwara Vanyasya Dakshine Haste Drishtva Chinnam Gadabhrita Padayor Arvindam Cha Tambay Mene Hare Kalam Yasya Pratihatam Chakram Mansha Saparameshthina. Lord Brahma, the master of the entire universe, arrived there accompanied by all the demigods and their chiefs. Seeing the lines of Lord Vishnu's palm on King Prithu's right hand and impressions of lotus flowers on the soles of his feet, Lord Brahma could understand that King Prithu was a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One whose palm bears the sign of a disk, as well as other such lines, should be considered a partial representation or incarnation of the Supreme Lord. There is a system by which one can detect an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nowadays, it has become a cheap fashion to accept any rascal as an incarnation of God. But from this incident, we can see that Lord Brahma personally examined the hands and feet of King Prithu for specific signs. In their prophecies, the learned sages and Brahmins accepted Prithu Maharaj as a plenary, partial expansion of the Lord. During the presence of Lord Krishna, however, a king declared himself Vasudeva, and Lord Krishna killed him. Before accepting someone as an incarnation of God, one should verify his identity according to the symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. Without these symptoms, the pretender is subject to be killed by the authorities for pretending to be an incarnation of God. So in Kali Yuga, there are so many incarnations of God roaming around. No signs, no mention in any scripture, but they claim to be incarnation. But they should be. Prabhupada said, without these symptoms, the pretender is subject to be killed by the authorities. They should be killed for misleading the general public. But that's what it was. Maharaj Prithu had and the signs on his hand and the soles of his feet. So not an ordinary person. And the work that he would do later on, we will see, not ordinary work. So that is a real sign of an incarnation of God. That's a real symptom. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so you all have a wonderful day, safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Krishna.